I did my informative speech on Dr. Ben Carson. Dr. Benjamin Carson is a well-known surgeon worldwide and is most known for his separation of conjoined twins at birth. Having a rough upbringing and having to work extra hard in life to get where he is today makes this story all the more fascinating and inspiring. He has been an important icon in the medical world, along with young children and adults who aspire to be in the medical field, including myself. Ben Carson was blessed with gifted hands, but not the perfect early life. While writing his book, Gifted Hands, The Ben Carson Story, Ben states that growing up in poverty-stricken Detroit with my mother and elder brother, Curtis, I had never dreamed of the future that lay ahead for me. Ben Carson was born on September 18, 1951, in Detroit, Michigan. His mother, Sonia, was born in Tennessee along with her 23 siblings. She married at 13 with only a third-grade education. Determined to give her sons a better life, she encouraged them to take their education seriously and to go as far as they possibly could. Growing up in the slums of Detroit wasn't a walk in the park. Ben's parents divorced once Sonia discovered her husband, Robert Carson, was a bigamist, meaning he had a secret family. The divorce left Sonia raising both her boys, Ben and Curtis, alone and very poor. Sonia was sometimes forced to work 2 or even 3 jobs just to keep their heads over water. Dr. Carson wrote in his novel, "My mother was very frugal with our money and often patched up and cleaned clothes she found for us at the Goodwill." He also wrote, "My mother would also go around to the local farmers and offered to pick crops in exchange for a portion of the yield." The way Sonia managed her family was quite the influence on both Curtis and Benjamin. Thanks to that influence and drive, Sonia installed in her sons, Ben especially, was able to go far when it came to his education. Education didn't come easy at first for Ben. He began to fall short of his peers early on, which also caused him to be made fun of and put down. Ben's mom felt the urge to help her son succeed and required the boys to read 2 library books each week and turn in a report to her after finishing each book. Ben at first resented this arrangement, but then found enjoyment in reading novels and began reading more and more and widening his subjects. Not long after, his reading and memory began to improve and shocked the teacher at his school with the facts he was able to recall from his home readings. Ben Carson graduated with honors from Southwestern High School and received a full scholarship to Yale University. He earned his bachelor's degree in psychology in 1973. Afterwards, he enrolled himself in the medical program at the University of Michigan. His goal was to become a neurosurgeon, and that is what he did. After marrying his wife, Lucina Rustin, the couple moved to Maryland, where Carson began his internship at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. By 1982, Dr. Carson had been promoted to chief resident at Hopkins. With Dr. Carson quickly moving up in the surgical world, his name got out there relatively quick. This in turn began to bring him some very interesting and difficult neurological cases. In 1983, Dr. Carson mentioned how grateful he was to have received the chance to travel to Australia for further studies. While working at Gardner Hospital, Carson was able to gain multiple years of experience, only working there for a full year. This in turn allowed him to improve his surgical skills tremendously. After returning from Australia in 1984, Dr. Carson was deemed the director of neurosurgery at Hopkins at the mere age of 33. At that time, he was considered to be the youngest surgeon to hold that position within the United States. Since Carson's name became quite known, a fascinating case came his way. Dr. Carson was asked to separate 7-month-old twins who were conjoined at the skull in Germany. This complication is known as occipital craniopagus. The parents of the twins, Patrick and Benjamin Binder, called Dr. Carson to come to Germany for consultation. Considering the twins were conjoined at the back of the head and thankfully had 2 separate brains, Dr. Carson was quite sure this would be a successful surgery. On September 4, 1987, the 22-hour surgery was performed. It took Carson and his band of doctors and nurses months to get this down pat. Although both boys did not end up with small amounts of brain damage, did end up with some small amounts of brain damage, and post-operative bleeding, they both did survive. This allowed the surgery to be considered successful. Dr. Carson then performed another extravagant surgery for the books. In 1994, Dr. Carson and his team flew to South Africa to separate a pair of conjoined twins. Sadly, the surgery was unsuccessful and deemed a failure as both the girls died to surgical complications. This hiccup did not stop Dr. Carson from trying again. In 1994, Carson once again attempted to separate conjoined twin boys in Zambia, Central Africa. After a long and hard 28 hours, both boys managed to pull through without any brain damage. This surgery was considered a successful one. Dr. Benjamin Carson, a well-known and well-rounded surgeon and man. He earned the position he holds in the surgical world. He came from nothing and managed to work hard and gain a place in the world, slowly climbing up the ladder to reach his goals. With the help of his mother and his determination, Dr. Carson was not only able to separate multiple pairs of conjoined twins, gain higher ranking within his workplace, and prove to be a worthy role model and inspiration to people of all ages, especially those who aspire to be a part of the medical field like myself.